Good evening, everyone. Uh, this is the second video that I'm going to discuss about the F5 virtual appliance and how to use it to load balance the Exchange 2010 CAS traffic. Let me give you a overview of my environment first. Have a look at the vSphere client here. The resource called F5 load balanced. So I have the F5 virtual appliance version 11.3.0.39. I have 4 CAS servers, 1, 2, 3, 4, my domain controller, and 1 mailbox server. I'm not going to concentrate on the DAG functionality of Exchange, however, just the integration of F5 load balancer and CAS servers or CAS array. So here we go. I'm assuming that all of you know how to set up the management IP for the F5, so I'm not going to cover that part. Now this is my domain controller, and I'm going to use my domain controller to manage my F5 via the web console. So I've got 2 Ethernet adapters in my domain controller. One is the production, so this is my production subnet, and let me show you which subnet I'm using for my production. Alright, so my production subnet is 192.168.168.0. Remember my default gateway, which is 192.168.168.254. Forgive me if I fumble in between, since it's my first video. Okay. Now coming back to the subnet to manage my F5. Remember, the management IP address should not be of the same subnet as that of your production. Now if you do so, while trying to configure the F5, it will report errors. Okay, so this is the IP address of my management network to manage my F5 in my domain controller, which is 192.168.200.0, and the IP address is 202. Now since I have the IP address in place, so I will be able to access the F5 web console from my domain controller, which is here. 192.168.200.203. Note 203 is the management IP address of my F5 balancer. I'm going to log in here. Admin. There's a little bit of latency here. The network is a little sluggish, so it might take a while to populate all the information. Alright, here we go. So this is the console of F5. Via this console we can manage the F5, we can configure it. Now let's have a look what we have in the F5. The first thing we may need to make sure is that our F5 communicates to our domain controller, or the DNS, or the NTP server, so that the time is in sync. Now on our system, if I go to devices, This is the basic information of the F5. I have named it adjacent to my domain, which is big.lab.com. This is the host name of my F5. If I click on the devices tab here, I go to NTP, and this is the IP address of my domain controller. Similarly, going back to the devices again, click on DNS. This is the IP address of my DNS server, which is again the domain controller. Okay, so we have configured the NTP and the DNS in the F5. What's next? Well, let's go to network. Remember, this video is intended to only load balance the internal traffic. I'm not concerned about outbound traffic. So let's go to VLAN, which is virtual LAN in my F5. Okay, so I have created a VLAN, named it internal, and how to create, there is a create tab, right bottom, right top corner here. If I click create, by default, this virtual appliance has 3 network interface, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. So let's check which one I have used. Okay, there you go. I have used interface 1.2. Let me give you a look at how I have configured the internal VLAN address here. Okay, so when I clicked on create, I named it internal. I'm not concerned about the default value such as tag, which I'm also not sure about. So I have selected 1.2 and untagged it, as in it's not available. Now it's tagged to my internal VLAN. Alright, so I have configured the internal VLAN. Now let's have a look at the interface. There you go. 3 adapters available. Number 1.2, which is my second, and I'm using it for VLAN internal, is up. The rest 2 are uninitialized. Now, since I have configured the VLAN internal, I need to assign an IP address to it. So which is 192.168.168.10, same as my production network. Okay, so this is the information of my VLAN internal. The use will be internal. Now route is the most important part. How am I going to route the traffic from my VLAN internal? If I click on add, I have this option. I've named it external all gateway, or maybe it's the default, I don't remember now. It's been a while I've configured it. Okay, so this is what I've kept. The destination, I've kept it default, so any network can communicate or route traffic to my VLAN internal. And what I've specified is the gateway address, which is 192.168.168.254. If you remember, my internal network gateway is the same, which is 192.168.168.254. Let me show you again. There you go. Okay, so we have configured the network part. We have configured the device information to communicate with our domain controller, our DNS server, and the network server. Now, to configure an F5, we have got a series of templates. that we can use to configure, so we don't have to do it manually. These templates are available in the F5 website. Let me show you the default templates that are available. All the ones that are grayed out, we cannot check, are the default. The one that I have imported, or you can say the latest one, is f5.microsoft.exchange.2010_2013 CAS version 1.4.0. How to import? You click on import, click on browse, and since I have already downloaded the templates from the F5 URL or the website, I have the list of templates available here. So I've selected this one, click open, and upload it. Now this template is available for me to use. Let's go to application services on how to use the templates. We go to create, you name the configuration that you're going to perform, and click on this drop down for templates and select the one that you would like to use. So I've picked f5.microsoft.exchange, the one that I have imported. Here's the one. Now let me show you the configuration part of this template, how and what I have configured. Okay, I click on reconfigure. Okay, so the name of my configuration is array, since I'm going to load balance my CAS traffic, so I've named it array. An array of 4 CAS servers. Let me scroll down here. This is more of the information part. If you can read through it, you will get, or you will learn a lot of information. Alright, and here which version of Exchange I'm going to use, since I'm using 2010, so I've selected 2010. In the drop down, which scenario describes how will you use the big IP system, I've used it to load balance and optimize my CAS traffic. About the certificate part, I'm not thorough with the certificate, so I'm not going to cover that. If you are well sound with the certificates, you can implement that too. Please go through the F5 admin guide on how to configure certificates. The default settings, you can keep it as it is, since I also haven't played much with it. So all I'm going to cover is the configuration part, which part is most important. Okay, have a look here. What IP address do you want to use for your virtual servers? Now, virtual servers are nothing but an IP address that will resolve to an URL which will route the traffic to one of the CAS servers. So I have used the production subnet and an IP address 1.1.1. Let me take you to the DNS server here. Alright, here is 1.1.1. There you go. So the IP address 192.168.168.111 is the virtual IP address that I have configured in the F5, and I have named it Outlook.5. So this is the URL or the virtual URL that will be used to traffic the CAS to one of the CAS server 1234. Now if I ping this IP address, I'll be able to do so since I have configured it. Okay, if I scroll down a little bit more, this part covers what I'm configuring, for example, IMAP, RPC, OA. Have a look. What is the FQD? And like I said, the URL that will be used, it's outlook5.lab.com, which is none but the IP address 192.168.168.1.1. This one here. Wait a minute. I think we skip the part which is to add the nodes or the CAS servers. Let me scroll a bit. There you go. What are the IP addresses of your client access servers or the CAS servers? So I have added the IP address of all my 4 CAS servers, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once I do so, I click Finish. Once I update all this information, let's have a look. What's new is configured in the F5. Let's click on Local Traffic. I go to Nodes. Now these nodes will represent or show the 4 CAS server IP address 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Virtual servers. Destination IP address, which is the IP address that I have configured in the F5, and these are the default RPC configuration. Pool, again, RPC, OA, pool. Alright, now since we have configured this, let's have a look. We're going to type in the IP address of the virtual server, which is 192.168.168.111, and check if it's going to resolve to the name or FQDN outlook5.lab.com. Hit enter. Like I said, I haven't configured the certificate, so I certainly will get the certificate warning. I'll click on continue to this website. So this is my OA. Let's go back in here. I'll click on nodes in order to check the traffic. There we are. Now I click on status. Okay. I do a reset. So there is no in and out traffic right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to access my OR URL, http://outlook5.lab. Okay. By now we should see some traffic on one of the nodes. So let me go back to the F5. Let's refresh. There you go. So I'm accessing OA. Let's have a look. Via my F5 or virtual server, which CAS server I'm connected to. Alright. So the host address that I access to log into OA is outlook5lab.com/OA. And I'm connected to cas5.lab.com. CAS5, let's have a look which CAS server it is. There you go. So that covers the F5 integration to CAS array. Thank you very much for watching this video. And if you have any suggestions, please feel free to suggest me anytime. And the next video I'm going to cover is Enterprise Vault Windows clustering. Thank you.